Hello everyone, this is Dr. Rebecca Sheffield. Welcome back to another episode of the It's My Job podcast. We're on a mission to find out about the careers of people who are blind or visually impaired. Where do they work? What sorts of jobs do they have, and what did they do in school to prepare for those jobs? Our podcast features student interviewers talking with adults who are blind or visually impaired, investigating important questions like how they use technology and how they connect with other people. Our interviews were designed by students for students. Stay tuned after the podcast to learn about how to get involved. And please share with your friends and teachers so they can listen too. Now for today's interview. In this episode, Christian, a student in Texas, is interviewing Miss Chancey Fleet. Chancey is Assistive Technology Coordinator for the New York Public Library. You can follow her on Twitter at Chancey Fleet, all one word, no spaces. That's ChanceyFleet. Check out where Chancey works. On Facebook, search for the Andrew High School Braille and Talking Book Library. And you can sign up to find out about upcoming trainings from Chancey and others at the high school library at High School Tech plus subscribe at googlegroups.com. That's HEISKELLTECH +SUBSCRIBE at googlegroups.com. Now for our interview.
So my first question is, Chancey, where did you go to college and what is your degree?
So I did my undergrad work at the College of William and Mary in Virginia. And at that point, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do for a profession. And I wound up majoring in psychology and sociology. For years, I thought that wouldn't be relevant to my job because I ended up in the tech field. But now as a tech educator, I feel like psychology and sociology really come into play. We have to understand people's motivations and priorities and goals in order to support them in learning tech. And sociology comes into play because learning tech is not just about the person, it's also about the system that they're in and some realities there. So that was my undergrad. And then I went back to grad school here in New York at the School for Professional Studies, which is part of the City University of New York. And my master's is in disability studies.
My next question is, did you have any specialized training?
Like what?
You know how like the VI and the O&M teachers, how they have to do the on-the-job training and they have to do kind of specialized training before they can get the job?
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean, like certifications or okay. So that makes perfect sense now. Thank you. So I'm a tech educator in a public library, and so I don't have to have any certifications like the CADIS. If I were a tech trainer at a rehab agency, I would need something called the CADIS, Certificate for Assistive Technology Instructional Specialist. That certification is becoming more popular and more often required, but I entered the field before that was really a thing, and now I'm at a level where I probably don't need it. So I don't have any licenses and don't need any licenses because I work in a public library.
My third question is, how did you become interested in your profession?
Well, when I was in college, I got a part-time job through the Department for the Blind down there, driving out to people's houses and places of business and teaching them how to use their technology. It's a really wonderful program that they had where current consumers of the agency could get that type of part-time job. And I realized that I had a real affinity for it, that I was pretty good at teaching. I liked solving concrete, solvable problems. And so I started to gravitate towards that and do more and more of it, to the extent that I figured out that I really wanted to do tech education more than I wanted to do something directly related to my degree. For the specific job that I have now, it's kind of a funny story. I first visited the library where I work now when I was a tourist, and I was 10 years old. And I was struck by the library in New York because you could just walk in and take Braille books off the shelves. And in Virginia, the Library for the Blind was more of a warehouse situation where you would just wait to come for your books by mail. And I just loved being able to browse the stacks like anyone and kind of get lost in the library. So years later, when I moved to New York, I reconnected with the library, and I still love the building, and I love being able to work near the stacks. And I was working at a traditional rehab agency called the Lighthouse Guild back in 2010, and it wasn't the greatest culture fit for me. And I was looking for ways to help people that we couldn't serve, like seniors and homemakers and undocumented people. So some fellow disability activists and I started a volunteer clinic at the library where we would offer tech coaching, at first just on Saturdays. We started volunteering in 2010, and in 2014, they created a position for me, and then part-time positions for a couple other former volunteers. So that's how I run the department now. I actually volunteered there for 5 years before I came on board.
Oh, so the library in Virginia is kind of like NLS Bard, where you have to like order the books, whereas the one in New York, you can just walk in there and just take the books off the shelves and check them out and take them home and read them.
Exactly. We're still an NLS branch, but we're both. We're NLS and we're the New York Public Library. So we're pretty cool because New Yorkers without disabilities can also come into the library and use it. So it's one of the few libraries I've been to where our community and the general public really get to see a lot of each other and share the same space. And I love that about our branch.
So my fourth question is, what does your work involve and what does your typical day look like?
One of the things that I love about this job is that there's no one typical day. So I'm somebody that hates a lot of routine. I hate to be bored. I always have to be doing something new or my mind starts to wander. So the library is a much better culture fit for me than anywhere else I've ever worked because I get to plan lots of different things and do a great variety of things. So one of my jobs is to curate the assistive technology in the branch. So I make sure everything is working. I help decide what we should buy. I show patrons how to use what we have, and we have a lot. We have CCTVs, we have JAWS and Zoom Text Fusion. We have computers with typing programs. We've got Braille embossers, we've got 3D printers. So I help make sure that the frontline staff knows how to use that stuff and that patrons are comfortable using it and have what they need. But then the exciting part of my job is I oversee about 160 hours a month of one-on-one tech coaching. A lot of it's delivered by staff and a lot of it's delivered by our volunteers. And I run a tactile graphics lab where anybody can come in, blind or sighted, and create maps, images, diagrams, 3D prints. And so on a typical day, I might have a couple hours of administrative work, which I don't love, but which I do. And I might have a couple of hours of one-on-one training. I might be leading a group workshop. I might be doing a little bit of research about something that we need to buy or a grant that we might pursue. And then if I'm lucky, I'm going to get to spend some time in our graphics lab. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to show people how to make tactile graphics and 3D models.
I've got a couple questions pertaining to this. Number one, speaking of the tactile graphics, have you looked at the graffiti yet by Orbit Research that is launched now?
Yes, I've been looking at it at conferences for years and hoping that it would get released. And I'm so happy that it's being released now. I'm a little sad that it's going to have to be $15,000 for now, but I understand they're not going to be producing large quantities. And so the economy of scale means it has to start out at that price. But gosh, I've literally had dreams about having a tactile refreshable screen. I love spatial thinking. I love expressing myself in that way. I really love maps, and it's my favorite part of my job. And that would be so much easier and more immediate if I were to have a two-dimensional tactile display. And one of my hopes for the next couple of years is that the library will get one.
And also, do you know if there's a similar solution in Texas that does kind of like what y'all do, where y'all have Braille embossers and everything, and people can just come in and just look at that kind of stuff and try it out?
So there are lots of places that you can go to try out embossers. I know a lot of the state agencies have them. I know the Texas School for the Blind for sure has them in Austin, and I bet the Chris Cole Center has them. The thing that's different about our lab is that we don't just provide space and equipment, we also provide mentorship. So people can take group workshops on good practices for tactile design and how to use the 3D printer and how to use the different software that we use. And if blind people want to do tactile design, we have analog hand tools that they can use, like drafting tablets, or we can teach them how to design with code using SVG or a program called OpenSCAD that's for 3D printing. So I think we might be one of the only places where you can go blind or sighted, where you don't need to be eligible in some way. Anyone's really welcome. You don't have to be blind. You don't have to be sighted. I think our model might be a little more open than most models that are out there. I'd love to see more though.
I actually used OpenSCAD a little bit in my 8th grade robotics class. We were doing 3D printing. Yes, and I used OpenSCAD a little bit.
Awesome.
My 5th question is, what devices do you use?
Because I'm a tech educator, it's my responsibility to stay up on all the devices I can, even ones that I don't necessarily love so much. So that means that I need to be proficient in using Windows, JAWS, NVDA, Mac, VoiceOver, iOS,
Windows Narrator.
Windows Narrator as well. I know Windows Narrator, but also I have to be proficient with Android TalkBack and BrailleBack, and I have to be proficient with Chrome OS and ChromeVox. And then we get into all the Braille displays and Braille note takers. So I try to have at least a passing familiarity with all of them, and I spend a lot of time studying and making sure that I stay up on the updates. And for my personal use, I have a dual boot machine that's a Windows machine that also has a Mac operating system. It's a MacBook that I usually run Windows in, but every couple months I'll make myself work on Mac OS for a week just so that I make sure that I don't get rusty. And then we've got graphics embossers and 3D printers. So I have to say the graphics embosser is my favorite because it makes amazing pictures.
Real quick, you mentioned Android. I'm guessing you also probably heard about the new TalkBack Braille keyboard that was introduced.
Yeah, just like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes, how are you liking that so far?
So I'm busted. I haven't tried the Android soft keyboard for Braille yet. I've read up on it, but I need to go update my Android phone, so thank you for the motivation. That's exactly the kind of thing that I've got to stay up on so I can stay competitive and support our patrons. I do use the Braille screen input on iOS, and I love it. I walk around the house texting and tweeting and doing all the things using Braille screen input. And I just ran a workshop on Braille screen input last week. So hopefully there are a lot more people typing in Braille now.
On to my 6th question. Do you live independently?
I live with my husband, and we are in a 2-family house in Brooklyn. And we've got our own pretty big apartment within that 2-family house. And then we have a bunch of roommates. So in New York City, a lot of people have roommates well into their 30s. I'm in my 30s. So yes, we live interdependently. There's a bunch of us, but we're closing on a house and we are probably moving in the next month to our very own place.
So now on to my 7th question. How do you navigate around New York? Do you use like a Victor Trek or Google Maps or things like that?
So I use a variety of things. New York is kind of easy, at least Manhattan's kind of easy because everything's on a grid. So if you know about the grid and you know you're on 20th Street and 5th Avenue and you're going to 26 and Broadway, that's all pretty clear. New York's a very pedestrian-friendly city. But I do a lot of travel and I go to a lot of places here in New York, or did before the pandemic. One of my favorite tools to use is Google Maps because it gives me pretty reliable turn-by-turn directions, and it has an AR mode where if you're pretty close to a place but you're not quite there yet and you know the GPS isn't going to be so accurate, you can go into AR mode, aim the camera across the street at the buildings and signs across the street, and that helps it calibrate and become more accurate. So it's one of the most accurate ways to know within like just a few feet exactly where your destination is. I really enjoy that. I don't use a Victor Trek or any other extra accessories because I like to keep it simple. I've got my phone, got my laptop, and I always have a Braille display on me, but I don't like the extra things for navigation. I try to do it mostly with my phone through a combination of GPS and visual interpreter services.
Do you travel with a guide dog or with a cane?
So I travel with a guide dog, and her name's Ramona. She's my first guide dog, and I really love working with her in New York because she's very good at threading around pedestrians, and she keeps a very fast pace, and I love working with her. But prior to the pandemic, I would say at least one day a month, usually on a Saturday when I've got to go in and work, I would leave Ramona at home because I think it's really important to stay sharp with my cane skills. That way, if she's not feeling well or I need to take care of her, where if I'm traveling somewhere where she's not permitted, then my cane skills are going to be okay. But now during the pandemic, service dogs, guide dogs are still allowed. The ADA hasn't gone away, but I think it might make it a little harder to social distance with a guide dog than it is with a cane. So I've been taking her on walks, but if I'm going to go to the store, I leave her home and take my cane because I just want to take up as little space as possible while we're trying to social distance.
How did you learn daily living skills? And what is the most important skill that you have learned?
Well, my parents were really powerful advocates for me to get lots of orientation and mobility, lots of opportunities to go away to summer programs and learn the skills that you need for daily life. And so I was pretty well set when I got to college, but my mobility skills when I got to college weren't as good as I thought they were. I have a little bit of residual vision, and so I was really nervous to be traveling alone at night, which was really inconvenient when I was in college. And I had a tendency of going places with my friends and not really memorizing the steps that I took to get there. And so I would not always venture out on my own so much. So I took a break from college midway through and went to the Colorado Center for the Blind to do their independence training program, where you wear a blindfold all day and it's hot and it's sweaty, kind of like a mask during the pandemic, but kind of like a mask during the pandemic. It's totally worth it. I noticed after a couple of days that like my shoulders were relaxing and I just felt more chill when I was traveling because I wasn't trying to focus on my worst sense. And now to this day, if I find myself getting overwhelmed or notice that I'm straining my vision when I'm trying to go somewhere, I just close my eyes and it's over. I can trust my non-visual skills. So I would say that the skill that's most important to learn is not any one hard skill. Like cane travel is important, Braille's important, text important. But the most important thing is self-confidence and not making excuses for yourself and being willing to say to yourself, like, yes, I can learn to do this. And yes, it's going to be worth it because I'm worth it. So I'm really glad that I took those months off from college to go sharpen my skills because I feel like I'm not afraid of anything now.
And then what do you like to do in your free time?
Well, I have a tandem bike. I like to bike with my husband. And I love to do origami. I go on YouTube with a visual interpreter to learn my origami models. When I can't learn them from people that I know, I love most learning them from other blind people. During this situation, I've been cooking more and spending time on that. My husband's an excellent cook, which usually means that I don't cook as much, but that's starting to change. And I'm really having fun experimenting in the kitchen. And I am learning guitar.
Great. Well, the next thing I'd like to do is to flip the script and see, Chancey, if you have any questions for Christian.
Okay. So Christian, you told me that you're interested in computer science and band. What are your instruments?
I play the tuba. We're trying to figure out how to get me into marching band as far as like doing the actual marching part of it.
Oh,
we're trying
awesome.
to slowly figure that out right now, is how to get a blind guy out on the football field marching the show. So
I know that blind people have done it before. I bet you could schedule a talk with somebody that's done marching band. I know there's a bunch of blind people that have done it. I know you learned a little bit of OpenSCAD. Have you done any other coding?
I have learned the base Python, so like with no third-party libraries installed.
Okay.
And I'm currently learning Java.
Awesome. Do you use Free Code Camp?
What is Free Code Camp?
Free Code Camp is a website that a lot of blind people have said nice things about. So I haven't used it myself, but I think I recommend it because people I trust have said that it's good. And basically it's a structured, free, step-by-step introduction to different programming languages. I think you might enjoy.
So C and C++, Java, all the real big ones?
I believe so, yeah.
The last thing we wanted to ask, and with great appreciation to both of you and to your teachers for the time today, Christian, what advice do y'all have for folks who are studying and working from home right now? What could you suggest for folks to do to stay entertained and connected with each other during this time? Who would like to go first?
You want to go first?
All that I do to stay entertained is I've got my phone and I've got my Bard Mobile and my YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Blind Bargains.
Yeah.
Shout out to Blind Bargains.
Awesome. Bard Mobile is a good suggestion. Of course, I'm going to like that suggestion. I'm a library person. I would add there's lots of good performing arts online. You can find a lot of things that are free right now, like everything from yoga to music to comedy shows. So if you check the Time Out website for your city, or even the Time Out New York website if you want, it's now Time In, and they're listing like the best of the best online events that you can go to each day. I would say it's really important to get up and move and stretch. And even though we are social distancing, it's still okay to walk outside. And it's important to make sure that we do that and we get a little bit of sunshine. And now is a good time to try something new or take some time to be creative. I've been enjoying cooking and drawing and practicing guitar, all things that I usually don't have time to do. I think it's important not to set super ambitious expectations for yourself, and if you don't get much done on a particular day because this is all hard, that's okay, but just keep things around you in your environment that might motivate you to be creative and express yourself.
Hi, it's Dr. Sheffield again. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the It's My Job podcast. I sure learned quite a bit about new technologies by listening to Christian and Chancey talk. What did you think? Would you like to work at a library full of cool devices? Do you think you would like to help teach people about assistive technology? Or did you think about other questions you'd like to ask Chancey? Would you like to interview someone yourself? Or maybe you have a suggestion of who we should interview next? We'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 202-688-5044. That's 202-688-5044. Outside the United States, you may need to dial +1 or your international access code and a 1. Be sure to check with your parents first. You can call us and leave a voicemail, or you can send us a text message. If you ask us a question about one of our interviews, we'll try and read the answer in a future podcast. Let us know if it's okay to share your first name and where you're from. Our email address is askitsmyjob@gmail.com. So askitsmyjob@gmail.com. No spaces and no apostrophe. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search for Ask It's My Job. Each of our episodes is also on Perkins Paths to Technology blog. Check us out and leave us a comment at perkinselearning.org/technology. And finally, we have a YouTube channel called It's My Job, where you'll find all of our podcasts. If you missed episode 7, head over to YouTube to hear what Sophia learned from Maureen, the marine biologist, about her work in studying the oceans and helping protect our planet from pollution. This was our 8th episode, and we want to make many more, but we need your help. If you're a student who's blind or visually impaired and would like to be an interviewer on a future episode, please have your teacher or parent contact us via phone, email, or our Facebook page, and we'll get you matched up with an interviewee. If you're an adult who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be interviewed, please send us a message via email, phone, or Facebook, and we'll get back to you. Once again, our phone number for text messages and voicemail is 202-688-5044. And our email address is askitsmyjob@gmail.com. We have a lot to be thankful for in this episode. Thanks to Christian for a great interview, and to Miss Chancey Fleet for sharing her time as our interviewee. Thanks to Miss Hahn and Miss Kirby, Christian's O&M instructor and TVI, for helping get everyone connected. This interview was facilitated by me, Rebecca Sheffield. Thanks to Diane Bronner over at Perkins Paths to Technology for the blog posts. Our music is from purpleplanet.com. With so many of us working and studying from home, we hope this podcast is becoming a great opportunity to learn from each other and increase awareness about all the amazing jobs that are being done by people who are blind or visually impaired. Have a wonderful day.